Hey girls, happy Wednesday. It is May 6th, and this is our mini lesson for Module Mission 6, Lesson 9. Our I can statement today. I can use the place value chart and metric measurement to compare decimals and answer comparison questions. So, let's take a look at our diagram here. And if you have your problem set in front of you, this corresponds to 1A that you will be able to look at. So if you don't have it, make sure you get it. So I'm going to look at my first diagram, and I'm going to think about what decimal is represented by this tape diagram. And there are 3 parts shaded out of 10. So it's 3/10. Remember that decimal would be 0.3. Now I look at my next model. And this time I have smaller parts here. So those are hundredths. So I have to think about hundredths. I have 10 hundredths, 20 hundredths, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27 hundredths. So I have 0 wholes and 27 hundredths. So now I want to write a comparison statement. Greater than, less than, or equal to. Well, they're definitely not equal to each other. Now I can clearly see that in this shading that this is more than this. Although some girls might get confused because they might say, well, wait, that's a 3 and that's a 27. But remember what I can do. I can make those 3/10 into 30 hundredths. And 30 hundredths is greater than 27 hundredths for sure. Now let's go on to our next example. So in our next example, it's similar to number 2 in your problem set, but it's not exactly the same. But we are looking at some scales, and the scales are showing the weight of different types of balls that are used for sports: a baseball, a basketball, a soccer ball, and a volleyball. And they're weighing it as part of a kilogram. Now, a kilogram is pretty heavy. So you'll notice though that the decimals are pretty small. So what I'm going to do before I do any comparing is I'm going to put my weights into our chart here. So the baseball, 0 and 15 kilograms. Well, there's no ones. There's 1/10. And there's 5 hundredths. With the volleyball, which you have to know which is the volleyball, which is the one over here. There are 0 ones. There are 2/10. And there are also 5 hundredths. Then I have my basketball. 0 ones and 6/10. Now I know that in my hundredths place, I can fill in a 0. The last is my soccer ball, which has 0 ones, 4 tenths, but again, I'm going to fill in a 0 for those hundredths. So now I have equivalent decimals. I still have my 15 hundredths. I rewrote the 6 tenths for the basketball as 60 hundredths so I can compare better. I have 25 hundredths for my volleyball, and then for my soccer ball, I rewrote the 4 tenths as 40 hundredths. So now let's look at this. We have 15 hundredths, 25 hundredths, 60 hundredths, and the soccer ball 40 hundredths. Let's think about which is the heaviest weight. Well, the heaviest weight is the basketball at 60 hundredths. All right, girls, so this is the last part of the lesson today, and then you will finish your problem set. So we're just going to compare some decimals using our greater than, less than, and equal to sign. So the first one I have 4 tenths versus 7 tenths. Similar to fractions, I'm going to compare the whole number first and then the part. Well, I have a 0 and a 0. Well, that's not going to help me. 4 tenths versus 7 tenths. 4 tenths is less than 7 tenths. If you were to actually shade a diagram 4 tenths and shade a diagram 7 tenths is clearly more. Now I have 4 tenths and 38 hundredths. Now, before I compare, I want to even out the decimal places. So I'm going to fill in the hundredths place. So now I've rewritten 4 tenths as 40 hundredths, and I'm comparing 40 hundredths with 38 hundredths. 40 is greater than 38. Now, if I started at the whole numbers, I have a 0 and I have a 0. And then I look at the tenths. I have a 4 and I have a 3. 4 tenths is greater than 3 tenths. So right away, I could have even stopped there and known that 4 tenths is greater than 38 hundredths. My next example, 2 tenths, 36 hundredths. Again, I'm going to fill in that 0 in the hundredths place. 20 hundredths, 36 hundredths. 36 hundredths is more, so 2 tenths is less than 36 hundredths. Last example for today, 2 tenths versus 12 hundredths. Now remember, 2 tenths is the same as having 20 hundredths, and 20 hundredths is greater than 12 hundredths. So go ahead and finish that problem set for me. Take a picture, send it to me, and I will see you tomorrow. Have a great day.